emotions or emotional messages. The first principle that we have is emotions might be primary or blended. Emotion might be primary. We have some emotions that are primary than others because the other emotions are emotions that are the blend from these ones. So, for example, we got love. And love is a blend of joy and acceptance. The second principle that we have is emotions are influenced by body, mind, and culture. If your body is tired, you won't be in the best mood. If your mind is overwhelmed, you won't be in the best mood. In your culture, you were raised in a culture that don't show too many emotions or expressions, you will be like that too. And the way that you see that expression of other person will be the same. And the third principle that we have is emotion arousal is a multi-step process. To understand this, I have to tell you that 3 stages. The stage number 1 is an event occurs, something happened. The second one we got is you experience an emotion. Internally you experience an emotion. And the third one that we got is that you respond physiologically. You express that emotion. Yeah? Emotions may be adaptive or maladaptive. Emotion may be adaptive. When you have to adapt to a situation. Let's say you are in the normal state, in the balanced state, you are not happy, you are not sad, you are not angry, or something happens, you won the lottery, and you adapt to that situation. Suddenly you are happy. That's what it means to adapt to a situation. And maladaptive is when you don't adapt to a situation. You don't do it. Let's say that somebody died and you laugh. You can't laugh in that moment. It's not appropriate. So we got the other principle that is emotions are communicated verbally and non-verbally. I said in that description that the emotional messages are non-verbal, but I said emotional messages. Now is that emotions are communicated. You can communicate an emotion. I can tell you I'm happy. I'm telling you that I'm happy, but in the same way, in the same moment, I expressed that I was happy with a sunrise. So you knew I was happy. I was really happy because I could say I'm happy, but look at my face. you will see that contrast. So let's just jump to the other principle, that is emotional expression is governed by display rules. Like I said, you can't laugh at the moment that you don't have to, or you can be sad in the moment that you have to be happy. So this is what it means, display rules. You must know when you have to show your emotion correctly. You can't do that I said, that somebody died, your friend tells you, oh, my aunt passed away, and you go like you can't laugh that the aunt of your friend passed away, so you can't do that. The next one is emotions can be used strategically. Before I thought that emotions couldn't be acted. But I read this, I remember something that happened to me, that one friend of mine told me that she cried to convince her boyfriend, that she wasn't guilty of what he was blaming her. I was like, wow, you really add that? She told me that yes, she just did it. I was like, wow. So emotions can be used strategically to get what we want. The next principle is emotions are contagious. If I'm happy, the person who loves me is gonna be happy too, because something good happened to me and I'm happy for that. So that person get with the same emotion. And the last principle, but not least, emotions have consequences. Everything in the life has some consequences. It's the same with the emotions. You laugh in the moment that you don't have to, you are gonna get some consequences. Like I said in the example before, if you laugh when your friend told you that his own passed away, probably he won't talk to you anymore. You won't be his friend anymore. So please don't do that. Thank you.
Continue with the key points. Key point number 2. There are 3 obstacles in communication of emotion. First, social and cultural custom. Depending on age and culture, people abstain expressing emotions. For example, men sometimes do not express sadness to crying because in their culture is only just for women, or represent lack of manhood. For the women, it seems like incorrect to express anger, to look very friendly or define men. Second, fear. There are many reasons to feel fear in expressing emotions. Fear to be rejected, to get hurt or to hurt, to be judged or lost the respect or admiration of the rest of the people. The fear to feel vulnerable and helpless. Third, inadequate interpersonal skills. This can be a barrier in communication of our emotions. If we do not know how to deal responding or expressing emotions, it's probably we are going to have difficulties in personal and professional relationships. We have to try to say the things that make us happy or uncomfortable, sad, upset, but always in an educated and respectful way. Next key point. To communicate our emotion effectively, we need to have emotional understanding. We need to be able of recognizing how we feel, what causes those feelings, and to visualize the possible effect of them. Even evaluate objectively our emotion and transmit an honest emotion and communicate it ethical and effective. Second, emotional expression. We need to be specific about what we feel and how intense we feel the emotion. Also, describe or mention why we are feeling or what caused that emotion. In case of have mixed emotions, organize them and with clear description anchor the emotions in present. Use I message to express owning of our feelings and respect emotional boundaries. And the last key point, to respond appropriately to the emotion of others. First, we need to look at nonverbal cues to understand individual feelings. Use active listening techniques such as listening cues. Do not evaluate or judge the feeling of others. That means to be empathic. Demonstrate interest in other person. Keep in mind that communication is irreversible. We can disappear a bad evaluation unanswered, so try to be mindful.
Background information. This chapter initially develops the biography of Aaron Goodman, a multimedia reportman, video journalist, and documentary maker. He experienced at the age of 17 being an international volunteer, and this inspired him to become a journalist. He witnessed as firsthand poverty, violence, genocide, and the murder of innocent people. As a journalist, he understands how powerful communication is. So he found Storytelling, a platform that facilitates digital storytelling workshops that enable people to tell their story and share emotion. As Goodman explains, everyone has a story to tell. Some have waited years, even decades, to tell them. Supporting people to write and create the history is always a remarkable and enriching experience. This storytelling method have changed my life, and sharing with others is always rewarding. That's the basis of this chapter.
Description. Maybe you are wondering, what are emotional messages? Emotional messages are non-verbal messages that communicate how we feel. So basically, emotional messages are to describe our feelings, to express our feelings. So I'm gonna mention some emotions for you to be clear, such as joy, anger, surprise, fear, etc.
feelings play a major role in the way we behave, and contrary to the popular belief, feelings are not exclusive to humans. The famous naturalist Charles Darwin believed that emotions are adaptations that allow both humans and animals to survive. For example, when we are angry, we tend to confront whatever is making us feel that way. And when we are afraid, we flee from that thing that endangers us. As the book says, feelings constitute a great part of our meanings. And if we don't feel what we are saying, in the end, what we are communicating is not really a piece of our minds, but a mere repetition of someone else's thoughts. It's important to address that showing emotions, either good or bad ones, is not a negative thing, but what makes us humans in the first place. After all, as living creatures, it's unavoidable to feel. Anyway, while it is almost impossible to control or manipulate what we feel, we need to learn how to stabilize ourselves when we are feeling too much. We cannot let our feelings control us. We need to control them. As we live in a society, we cannot escape from criticism or disagreements with the people that surround us. And in the same way, we cannot control who we like and who we dislike. What we can control is the deployment of our emotions. We need to control ourselves before we lose our temper and cause an unnecessary fight or an awkward situation. As feelings play such a big role in communication, it's important to be emotional aware. And to be considered as such, we must be able to understand feelings in general, ours or not. Because in the end, words can lie, but feelings cannot. Sometimes it's more important to pay attention on how a person is saying something rather on what they are actually saying in the first place. Because, as a quote by Dale Carnegie says, when dealing with people, remember that you're not dealing with creatures of logic, but with creatures of emotion.
Effective communication has an effect in us, positive or negative, but it depends on how we deliver the information and how the listener receives it. It becomes more difficult when strong emotions are involved. Emotional message has a great impact in us, but they aren't easy to understand. If we don't get the right meaning or fails into giving a correct feedback, it will affect the relationship between the participants and it creates a barrier in the conversations. That's the purpose of this chapter, to learn how to interpret emotional message others provide us in the best way possible, understanding the context, historical background, gestures and words, and also giving a correct response, avoiding obstacles and mistakes. When emotional messages aren't written correctly, people tend to act impulsive, which making the communication process a lot more difficult. They feel that their emotions aren't important to others, and this leads to misunderstanding, fights, insults, and broken relationships. Emotions is what make us feel a connection with others. It's what connect towards creating bonds. So we need to take them seriously.
One of the first things that we need to understand is that emotions can be influenced or expressed through our body. For example, when we're feeling embarrassed, our cheeks will become blush. When we're feeling nervous, we will have sweaty palms. Or if we're feeling discomfort, we will be playing with our hair or with an object, or we will be touching our face. Another example that I can give is that when a person is very happy to see you, this person will have a big smile, will be smiling, and also will have an open body posture. On the other hand, when a person is nervous, you can see damp hands, vocal hesitations, and some awkward movements. We can also say that emotional arousal is a multi-step process, and it begins when an event occurs and finishes when you acknowledge that emotion or you drive it. For example, when a person is looking to you and you're looking to that person too, and this person smiles to you, one of the things that will happen to you is that you will have an increase of your heartbeat because of the joy, because you're feeling joy. In other case, when you're walking alone on the street in the night and there is coming a suspicious person walking behind you, you will also have an increase of the heartbeat. But in this case will be because you are feeling fear. So in the first case, you are feeling joy, and in the second case, you are feeling fear. And in both, you have an increase of the heartbeat. We can also say that emotions can be used strategically. Many people use emotions because they want to control a situation or they want to persuade others to do something they want. For example, and the best example for this are babies when they are crying because they want their parents to do something for them. Also, we can say that emotions are contagious because when you're talking to another person and you smile, maybe the other person will smile too. But if you're feeling sad, maybe the other person will be feeling sad too. And in this case, we can say that women are prone to be more emotional contagious than men. We can also say that emotions have consequences. For example, when a person is feeling anger most of the time and this person doesn't know how to express or manage this feeling with caution, it will be very hurtful for others. Or if a person is always sad and crying most of the time, we can consider this as depression. There are some skills also for communicating emotions. And one of the first things that we need to have is an emotional understanding. We need to recognize what we are feeling. And you can ask yourself, for example, what am I feeling? And why do I feel like this? What are gonna be my emotional choices or my communication choices? And the second thing that we need to have in mind or keep in mind is that emotional expression. In this part, you really need to be specific. For example, if I say that I'm feeling guilty or bad for something, but I do not express or specify why am I feeling this, many people can think or consider this in many different ways. But if I'm being specific and I say I am feeling bad because I lied to my best friend, now people can understand why am I feeling bad.
The emotions. Emotions are extremely essential in our daily life. Knowing how to communicate our emotions is to have a guaranteed success, as this process requires many aspects that must be evaluated, such as culture, age, gender, and personality. Evaluating these aspects, effective communication of our emotions will help us avoid conflicts, allows us to empathize with other people, and to justify our actions and attitudes. Honestly is another essential factor, is essence vital for the communication of our emotions, since it is not fair to modify or use a certain emotion to try to pursue or manipulate others. Both in our personal and professional life, always remember that respect is strictly necessary to maintain and preserve relationships. It is good to express or transmit what we feel at the exact moment, because our feelings emerge more naturally and we will show ourselves genuine to people. It is important to know how to evaluate the emotion we feel, to know how to identify what that makes us feel good or not so good. Having an open mind and attitude is very helpful to understand that not of all feel, act, and think in the same way. We can't judge people's emotions. Communicating, understanding, respecting, expressing emotions appropriately is having the key to a successful life in all areas. Thank you.